There are moments in track and field where you don't need a press conference, a tweet, or even a smirk. You just need 19.89 seconds. That's exactly what Andre De Grasse delivered. At a quiet meet in early 2025, no fireworks, no world record hype, De Grasse stepped onto the track like a man clocking in for work. What happened next? A performance that felt less like a season opener and more like a season warning. He didn't pump his chest. He didn't throw shade. He just ran. Smooth, composed, and deadly fast. 1989 in the 200 mir. Wind legal. On a non-super track. And perhaps most importantly, without even looking like he emptied the tank. It wasn't just fast. It was intentional. For most casual fans, it might have just looked like a good opener. But to anyone who knows the sport, who's seen what DeGrasse looks like when he's locked in, this wasn't just a race. This was a shot across the bow, aimed directly at Noah Lyles. You know that feeling when the guy you beat last year shows up again? Quieter, leaner, faster? That's what this was. Lyles may be the reigning 200 milter king. He's the showman, the face, the one giving post-race speeches like he's already building his Netflix documentary. But this time, he wasn't even in the stadium. And yet, every camera felt like it was pointed at him. DeGrasse didn't say anything. He didn't have to. Because sometimes, the loudest thing in track and field is the silence after a fast time. You'd expect Noah Lyles to say something. This is the guy who once told the world that NBA champions shouldn't call themselves world champions. The guy who roasted shoe deals and called out entire sports leagues. The guy who tweets like he sprints, loud, fast, and often. But when DeGrasse dropped that 1989, nothing. Not a tweet, not a quote, just radio silence. For fans who live on athlete beef and Olympic-level pettiness, this was strange. No spicy emoji, no cryptic Instagram story, no see you in Paris meme, just quiet. And in the sport of sprinting, silence is rarely accidental. It could mean two things. Either Lyles didn't care, or he cared way too much. Let's not forget, 2024 was his year. Triple world champion. USA and DeGrasse, he's hunted before. The last time these two really squared off was Tokyo 2021. Lyles came in with the hype, the pressure, the spotlight. DeGrasse walked away with the gold. Ever since, Lyles made it his mission to leave no doubt. And to his credit, he did just that. He owned 2022. He crushed 2023. He dominated 2024. But now, in 2025, a Canadian ghost from the past is back. And this time, he's not playing catch-up. He's setting the pace. You can feel the shift, even in the silence. A slight crack in the bravado. A pause before the punchline. Lyles knows DeGrasse isn't here for a farewell lap. He's here for the crown. And maybe, just maybe, Lyles isn't as alone at the top as he thought. Because the 2025 season just got real. In sprinting, you don't need to run to start a fire. You just need to open your mouth. Before the 2024 World Relays, a reporter asked Noah Lyles a routine question. Which team are you most worried about? He blinked, smirked, and dropped a one-word answer. Who? That was it. No breakdown, no analysis. Just the verbal equivalent of a shrug, and a shot fired across the border. To American fans, it was classic Lyles. Confident, charismatic, entertaining. To Canadians, it was fightin' words. Because Lyles wasn't dismissing a B team. He was brushing off the defending Olympic champions. And the anchor of that gold-winning squad? That'd be one Andre De Grasse. The man who just reminded everyone he's not ready to hand over the throne. So when that clip hit social media, Canadian track Twitter, yes, it's a thing, lit up like it was 4th of July in Ontario. And on race day, let's just say karma didn't bother setting an appointment. Team USA, stacked with talent and medals, did what they unfortunately do best: botched the baton exchange. It was like watching a relay team try to pass a hot potato in ski gloves. The crowd groaned. The officials didn't blink. Disqualified. Meanwhile, Canada ran like they'd been waiting months for this moment. Crisp handoffs, smooth transitions, no theatrics, just business. And on the final leg, De Grasse, calm, efficient, clinical. He brought it home like he was collecting a package. Not urgent, just inevitable. Gold for Canada, DQ for Team USA, and silence from Noah. Post-race, De Grasse didn't say a word. But he did make time for a little celebration. Not trash talk, not tweets, just a quiet stroll in a victory parade, medals swinging from his neck like punctuation. He didn't have to clap back, because the clock and the standings already did it for him. If you listen closely, you can still hear echoes of that one-word diss bouncing off the finish line. Who? That's who. Noah Lyles doesn't tiptoe through the spotlight. He charges into it wearing sunglasses and holding a microphone. He's bold, he's brilliant. He's the kind of guy who could turn a 200-meter final into a TED Talk. But lately, the talk has been getting louder than the times. Let's rewind to that NBA comment. Post-race, gold around his neck, adrenaline in full swing, Lyles looked at the press and casually questioned why NBA champions get called world champions.
World champion of what? The United States?
Boom. Next thing you know, Kevin Durant's on Twitter, Draymond Green's fuming, and half the NBA is treating Lyles like he just called basketball a hobby. In one quote, Lyles managed to unite every power forward in the league, and not in a good way. Then came the Adidas beef. Picture this. You're the reigning world champ, your times are elite, and your sponsor drops a new ad campaign for an NBA player. Lyles saw Anthony Edwards on the billboard and basically said, hello? Remember me? It was less of a tantrum, more of a sponsored identity crisis. On top of that, Lyles later revealed he had COVID-19 before the Olympic 200-meter final. Fair enough. But to some fans, it sounded suspiciously like, my dog ate my gold medal. Whether it was honest vulnerability or strategic storytelling depends on who you ask and what country they're from. By now, Lyles isn't just outrunning sprinters, he's outrunning headlines. And that's not easy when you're tweeting between sets. Here's the difference. DeGrasse lets his legs do the talking. Lyles? His press conferences need subtitles. And as we head into 2025, the tension is thick enough to time with a stopwatch. One man is quietly gaining momentum. The other is balancing on a tightrope of brilliance and backlash. And somewhere in that space between applause and eye rolls, a rivalry is heating up. Because if Lyles wants to keep the crown, he's going to have to do more than talk fast. He's going to have to run faster. For a while, it felt like Andre De Grasse had quietly stepped into the background, still showing up, still lining up, but just a half step off the spotlight. Injuries, inconsistency, and a carousel of coaching changes had turned the once golden Canadian into something of a question mark. But every champion knows this. The most dangerous man in the race isn't the loudest. It's the one you forget to look out for. And in 2024, DeGrasse was nearly invisible. Not because he was done, but because he was reloading. What many didn't know, his longtime coach, Rana Ryder, had been removed from the Olympic Village following sexual misconduct allegations. The timing couldn't have been worse. DeGrasse was in Paris, trying to peak, while his entire training setup imploded around him. He ran, but he wasn't there. After that, everything changed. He hit reset, new structure, new approach, less noise, more purpose. And in early 2025, we saw the result. That 19.89 wasn't just a number, it was the receipt. Proof that DeGrasse hadn't aged out, he just opted out of the circus. He doesn't do media tours. He doesn't get into Twitter beef. He doesn't dance on the line. He runs. And in a season full of noise, he's the one reminding everyone that this sport starts and ends on the track. That's what makes this next showdown so compelling, because DeGrasse has nothing to prove to anyone, except the man in lane 5. Here's the thing about track and field. For all the fireworks, world records, and relay fumbles, the real magic happens when two athletes make it personal. And this is personal. Andre De Grasse and Noah Lyles couldn't be more different. One's quiet, methodical, smooth as silk. The other's explosive, theatrical, and quotable enough to host his own post-race podcast. But both are built for the big stage. Both have Olympic gold. Both have been called the future of sprinting. And now, they're finally circling the same lane again, with unfinished business in their stride. DeGrasse was the guy who spoiled Lyles' Olympic moment in 2021. Lyles has been owning the event ever since. World champs, diamond leagues, triple crowns. He's built an empire of confidence around that 200-meter bend. But empires don't last forever. And if there's anyone who knows how to take down a king without ever raising his voice, it's the Canadian with the casual finish line jog. What's at stake in 2025? It's not just medals, it's legacy. If Lyles keeps winning, he becomes the defining sprinter of this generation, the man who finally stepped out of Bolt's shadow and made the sport about him. If DeGrasse takes back the crown, it flips the script. He becomes the comeback king, the one who outlasted the hype, stayed standing after everyone counted him out, and reminded the world that consistency and class still matter. One man races with fire, the other with ice. And in Paris or Eugene or wherever the next final happens, we'll see what burns Bari.